And welcome back to FM Talk 1065 in Mobile Mornings. And time for another edition of Law 251 with Tobias and Comer Law and Lacey Smith in studio with me today. We're kicking 2025 off the right way with Lacey in studio. Hey, Lacey, good morning.
How are you doing, Dalton? Good to see you.
I'm good. And thank you so much for coming in today. And, of course, we're all kind of getting over the holiday season. I guess you could call it a hangover in a way. It's just such a busy, busy time. And then you hit January and real life hits you right back square between the eyes. So it's time to get back after it. And many of you, maybe you've moved on from the holidays and the gift giving, but this is a good actually opportunity to make sure some of the gifts maybe you sent out or received that you're being as safe as possible as we talk some product recalls, product liability. It's something that comes up this time of year with all these new items in new homes.
Absolutely. Whether it's children's toys or, maybe big gifts like ATVs or vehicles or anything like that, it's always very important to register your products, especially new ones or major purchases. But even small things like toys, as long as you have them registered, the manufacturer, if they become aware of a defect or a problem with it or a safety concern, they can reach out to their customer base and let them know about that. So that's one thing we really want to impress on everybody now, having all these new items in your home. Make sure that you don't just trash that piece of paper that encourages you to go to a website. That's actually a very important part of monitoring and tracking safety issues out in the field.
Yeah, and really, I guess it makes things easier on you when all things are said and done, rather than having to check sites every single day of the year to make sure you don't have a product that's been recalled. But I've always thought about these and thought about children's gifts specifically. We've talked about car seats and making sure you're on top of those recalls, and then just as a young parent, and I'm sure every young parent's done the same thing, but you see sleepers that have been recalled and different things that a lot of times it's resulted in fatalities or severe injuries to children. So of course everyone's worried about that, but once you get beyond them being little kids, there's still products out there, like you said, ATV, certain big products that could have just a big effect on a person or a family, as something when you're talking about those little toys for the little kids.
Right. So a great resource for us at our firm and a great resource for consumers in general is the Consumer Product Safety Commission website. So that's a mouthful, but basically this is a government agency that's charged with the duty to kind of track these safety issues across a broad variety of just all consumer products, really. So, as you mentioned, the choking hazards and some of the threats to children are often the ones that make the news, but they're, really any product for the most part. We don't like to think about it this way, but there can be safety hazards with everything and anything. So the CPSC website is a good kind of clearinghouse or information warehouse for really any safety concerns. And in preparation for coming to talk to you today, I got on there. I was on it just last week looking at a specific product for a case, but just kind of seeing what had been going on. One of the products that got recalled is something that my son, my youngest kid, got for Christmas. It's called a Yoto mini speaker. And I want to be clear that this was a prior version of it. These are the speakers that were sold between 2021 and 2023. So that would not apply to my son's product, but they have a battery issue that can create a potential burn or fire hazard. And this is just a little square speaker that you place these little cards in, and then it reads a story or can play music. But I mean, it is definitely something that would be a hot item, I would think, under a Christmas tree. So I was kind of surprised to see that there, but I will say credit to Yoto because this is a voluntary recall. They've received notice of these things, and on their website they impressed upon we have reached out to people previously about these issues, and the way they knew to do that was through the registration paperwork that they send. And these days, it's often just even a QR code. You can probably just do it on your phone.
Oh, yeah.
So it's really important that people take that 5 to 10 minutes just to register your products. And like I said, just scrolling through the website since November. So I'm talking about in the past 2 months, 2+ months. There's been recalls for Stanley cups, which we see all over the place now. Those are super popular.
Yeah.
There's a Nerf bike helmet, and again, another easy child's gift. Polaris side-by-sides or ATVs, and then several baby items, which, are often on there. But, you mentioned choking hazards. One was just a toy that has a little gold star. I mean, a soft plush toy, little gold star that's been popping off. They're worried that's a choking hazard. Strollers, and then sleeper suits. So, I mean, again, a broad variety of products, but we also know that, the average everyday person is not going to be hitting up the CPSC website on,
Right.
on a regular basis. But it's really that registering of the product that helps the manufacturer help you.
Yeah, it makes it easier on everyone involved, it sounds like. And talking with Lacey Smith with Tobias Comer Law for another edition of Law 251. So register the product. That way, anything comes out, they can shoot you an email, say, hey, by the way, that thing that you have, there's either a recall if you'd like, because I've seen some things where it's not necessarily as dangerous as maybe other recalls. So they say, hey, if you want to, I'm just thinking like maybe windshield wipers for a vehicle, for instance. They say, hey, there's an issue with this arm. You're not gonna, run off the road because of this necessarily. But I could think similar things maybe for toys and things of that nature. But if there's something serious, you would want to see that email and go, oh, I need to do something about this. Maybe get it back to the manufacturer. What if, Lacey, you get some item and maybe you're using it or your child's using it and you go, wow, that doesn't seem to be working the way it's supposed to, or I could see how this could go off the rails fast.
Right.
And maybe that's an item that needs to be recalled. I guess, would that be the same group? Would you reach out to them and say, hey, something doesn't seem right about this. Maybe look into this item.
Yes, you can go about that two ways. I mean, of course, you can report it directly to the manufacturer. Lots of manufacturers, whether toys or household appliances or whatnot, their websites are a great place to start. A lot of them have claims, claims departments in their, as part of their business, and you report to them, and sometimes that will even entail free service, to remedy the problem. But the manufacturer's website or phone number, but again, the CPSC, Consumer Product Safety Commission, also has a page on its website where you can just report any sort of problem that you might have with a product. You can also, if you're thinking about buying one, especially if it's a major purchase, you can go there and see if anybody else has reported that, because all of those records are maintained, and it's just kind of like an index right there.
And then, of course, we never want it to come to this at all, but if someone's using a product and they end up being injured through the use of that product, and they're wondering, or maybe this has happened to someone here recently, and they're trying to figure out what their next step should be. Generally, when you get that kind of call, what do you say? Hold on to that item? Who should they reach out to? You would be obviously among the first to give a call to, a law firm that specializes in those kinds of things like Tobias and Comer Law. But what would you recommend if someone's going through something like that?
Yeah, so if you are injured by a product, and especially if it's a major injury, of course, you want to keep everything as it was at the time of injury. Don't throw it away. I mean, obviously, there's a fire and you had to douse it with water or whatever the case might be. That's a little bit different. But
Right.
if it's an injury, we certainly want the product preserved. Just set it aside. Obviously, discontinue use of it, but set it aside and keep it in that form, because we don't want to lose any of the evidence that might show why it failed. We do take our vetting process pretty seriously at Tobias and Comer. So the CPSC website that I've mentioned is one way we do that. If somebody comes in with a potential products claim, we certainly look for other recalls, or see if this has happened, see if anybody's talking about it, across the nation, to see if it's a systemic or habitual problem with that product. But yeah, I mean, you want to, outside of immediately getting medical treatment, preserve the product. The earlier you can talk to an attorney in the process, the better. And then, we always vet our cases and have experts, because, we are legal experts, but we are not engineers or metallurgists or anything like that. So, that's part of the expert review that we take very seriously, and it's going to be needed to prove your case in the court of law. So we want to do some of that homework on the front side to make sure that this is a legitimate legal claim, because, I mean, there are injuries in the course of using products that have nothing to do with the actual product. Maybe it's misuse by the person that was injured, or maybe it was just some products are inherently dangerous, and you kind of assume that risk when you use them. But yeah, absolutely make sure you keep it in the state that it's in, and then contact a lawyer. And at Tobias and Comer, this is something that we take pretty seriously, and we have a lot of these cases, so we think we can provide expertise in that process.
Well, I think this is a great time to bring all this up. It's, heading into this new year, you've got these gifts that were given to your family, and go ahead, get those products registered. That way, if any recalls come up. And you can also make sure that if you gave out any of those gifts, that the people you gave them to are as safe as possible. All kinds of great information at tobiascomerlaw.com, including checklists like this to make sure that you're on the right path. And people can call for a free consultation regarding any case they feel they may have to 24/7. That number 251-432-5001. Lacey, appreciate so much this great advice again today, and thanks for coming in for Law 251.
Thank you, Dalton. Happy New Year.
Hey, Happy New Year to you too. As Lacey Smith with Tobias and Comer Law, and another edition of Law 251 right here on Mobile Mornings. Coming up next, the Jeff Poor Show on FM Talk 106.5.